Good evening friends, you are most welcome to Think Eyes channel. Today we are going to discuss second ERC report. Here we will discuss first report or second ERC report in which our topic is RTI Act. Let us begin the topic. First heading is Inventory of Public Authorities. At the Government of India level, the Department of Personnel and Training has been identified as the nodal department for implementation of the RTI Act. This nodal department should have a complete list of all union ministries, departments which function as a public authorities. Each union ministry or department should also have an exhaustive list of all public authorities which come within its purview. The public authorities coming under each ministry or department should be classified into. There are seven classification. First is constitutional body, second is line agencies, third is statutory bodies, fourth is PSU or public sector undertakings, fifth is bodies created under executive orders, sixth is bodies owned, controlled or substantially financed, seventh and the last is NGOs substantially financed by the government. Within each category, an up-to-date list of all public authorities has to be maintained. Each public authority should have the details of the all public authorities subordinate to it at the immediately next level. This should continue till the last level is reached. Next heading is recommendation on single window agency at district level. First is a single window agency should be set up in each district. This could be achieved by creating a cell in a district level office and designating an officer as the Assistant Public Information Officer for all public authorities served by the single window agency. Second is the office of the district collector or deputy commissioner or the Jilla Parishad is well suited for location of the cell. Next heading is recommendation on the subordinate field offices and public authorities. A part, the definition of the public authorities would extended the spread of public authorities to the level of panchayats and village patwaris across the country. B part, the public authorities at the lower end of the administrative and or functional hierarchies need to be identified to discharge responsibilities under section 4 of the act as they are closest to the people both physically and functionally. Next heading is application to non-governmental bodies. First is organizations which perform functions of a public nature that are ordinarily performed by government or its agencies, and those which enjoy a natural monopoly may be brought within the purview of the Act. Second is norms should be laid down that any institution or body that has received 50% of its annual operating cost or a sum equal to or greater than 1 crore rupees during any of the preceding 3 years should be understood to have obtained substantial funding from the government for the period and purpose of such funding. Third is an information which, if it were held by the government, would be subject to disclosure under the law, must remain subject to such disclosure even when it is transferred to a non-government body or institution. Fourth is this could be achieved by way of removal of difficulties under section 30 of the act. The limit, the time limit of information, the time limit for information. The stipulation of making available 20-year-old records on request should be applicable only to those public records which need to be preserved for such a period. In respect of all other records, the period of availability will be limited to the period for which they should be preserved under the record keeping procedures. If any public authority intends to reduce the period up to which any category of record is to be kept, it shall do so after taking concurrence of the Public Records Office. Mechanism for redressal of public grievances. States may be advised to set up independent public grievances redressal authorities to deal with complaints of delay, harassment, or corruption. These authorities should work in close coordination with the SIC or district single window agencies and help citizens to use information as a tool to fight against corruption and misgovernance or for better services. Application of the Act to the legislature and judiciary. First is a system of indexing and cataloging of records of the legislature which facilitates easy access should be put in place. This could be best achieved by digitizing all the records and providing access to citizens with facilities for retrieving records based on intelligible searches. Second is a tracking mechanism needs to be developed so that the action taken by the executive branch on various reports like CAG, Commission of Inquiry, and House committees is available to legislators and public or online. The working of the legislative committee should be thrown open to the public. The presiding officer of the committee, if required in the interest of state or privacy, may hold proceedings in camera. The records at the district court and the subordinate courts should be stored in a scientific way by adopting uniform norms for indexing and cataloging. The administrative procedures or processes in the district and subordinate courts should be computerized in a time bound manner. These processes should be totally in the public domain. Removal of difficulties. All organizations listed in the second schedule have to appoint PIOs. Appeals against order of PIOs should lie within CIC or SICs. Provisions should be made to include annual confidential reports, examination questions papers, and related matters in the exemption under the RTI Act. Provisions have to be made for designation and notification of appellate authorities for each public authority. The CIC and the SIC should be entrusted with the task of monitoring effective implementation of right to information in all public authorities. A National Coordination Committee (NCC) may be set up under the chairmanship or chairpersonship of the CIC Chief Information Commissioner with the nodal union ministry, the SIC and the representatives of the state as members. A provision to this effect may be made under Section 30 of the Act by way of removing difficulties. The following norms should be followed for determining applicability of the Act to non-governmental organizations. Organizations which perform functions that are ordinarily performed by government or its agencies and those which enjoy natural monopoly should be brought within the purview of the Act. Norms should be laid that any institution or body that has received 50% of its annual operating cost or a sum equal to or greater than 1 crore rupees during any of the proceedings 3 years should be understood to have obtained substantial funding from the government for the period and purpose of such funding. Any information which, if it were held by the government, would be subject to disclosure under the law, must remain subject to such disclosure even when it is transferred to a non-government body or institution. The stipulation of making available 20 years old records on request should be applicable only to those public records which need to be preserved for such a period. In respect to in respect of all other records, the period of availability will be limited to the period for which they should be preserved under the record keeping procedures. If any public authority intends to reduce the period up to which any category of the records is to be kept, it shall do so after taking concurrence of the CIC or SIC as the case may be. It may be provided that information can be denied if the work involved in processing the request would substantially and unreasonably divert the resources of the public authority, provided that such a refusal shall be communicated within 15 days of the receipt of application with the prior approval of the appellate authority, provided further that all such refusals shall stand transferred to CIC or SIC as the case may be, and the CIC or SIC shall dispose the case if it is an appeal under section 19 clause 3 of the RTI Act. Performance of the report. Recently newspapers published a report prepared by Satark Nagrik Sangathan and the Center for Equity Studies regarding RTI Act performance and implementation. First is government officials face hardly any punishment for violating the law by second, denying applicants the legitimate information sought by them as per the report. Third is in 97% of the cases, the courts of appeal under the RTI Act, Center and State Information Commissions failed to impose penalties for violations that happened in the year 2018-19. Fourth is the failure of the Commission to impose penalties is sending signals to the Public Information Officers PIO that violating the law will not invite any serious consequences. Fifth is this state of affairs promote a culture of impunity and expertise exa- exasperates exasperates applicants who seek information at a high cost and often against great odds. Sixth is the laxity in imposing penalties allows PIOs, that is Public Information Officers, to take liberties with the RTA Act, Right to Information Act, at the cost of the public. Seventh and the last is this is also resulting in increased workload of the commissions due to the appeals, leading to a huge pendency of the cases. As of today, there are 33,000 pending cases. This is further exaggerated due to the vacancies in the Central Information Commission. The Right to Information Amendment Bill 2019, it was introduced in the Lok Sabha in July 2019 and got passed by both houses of the parliament. It seeks to amend the Right to Information Act 2005 and its key features. First is the bill states that the central government will notify the term of office for the CICs and the ICs. The earlier act provides for 5-year term to CICs and ICs. Now the bill replaces this provision. It states that the salaries, allowances and other terms and conditions of services of the central and state CICs and ICs will be determined by the central government. The bill removes the salary deduction provisions of those who are receiving pensions or any other retirement benefits for previous government services at the time of appointment of the CICs and ICs of center and state level.